The Nats are still doing their annual night out in support of Pride Night in Major League Baseball. And they raised over $30,000 for scholarships. My name is Dr. Rashawn Broadneck. And I don't know if you've heard, ignorance is expensive.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Shayna,
right?
stop. He's a minor. Stop.
So good looking. Minor like under 18.
I'm 23. I'm actually 23.
That's a grown man right there. That's a grown man. How you guys doing?
We're good. Are you Ernest? Is she talking to you?
Good to see you guys. She came for my birthday, so she surprised me too.
How are you?
I don't do much in DC, so the mosquitoes got me.
All that sweetness.
Yes, honey, I got that sweet blood.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Rashawn Broadneck.
I'm Tiffany Thomas.
I'm Ernest Collins.
I'm Shayna Taylor.
I'm Byron Garrett, and this is We Speak. Well, we're back again for another great episode of We Speak. Thank you for joining us. How are you tonight, Dr. Broadneck? Good to see you back with us.
Thank you so much. I'm doing well. And yourself?
Outstanding. And Tiffany Thomas, good to see you back with us also.
It's great to be back with you guys.
And Shayna Taylor, how are you holding on this particular week since it's your birthday week?
Another rotation around the sun, which is why I'm in my birthday suit. And I'm awesome.
Come on now.
All right now, Ernest, well, it's your birthday too. So what's going on with you this week?
Yes, it is. Good evening. I'm encouraged. I'm happy. And I'm going to get the senior coffee at McDonald's.
Okay. All right. Well, we are back this week. As we keep telling people, it's the shortest commute that we make to the studio because we get to do it from the comfort of our own home, sitting here on the Zoom platform. Happy birthday to the two of you, without a doubt. I'm celebrating you. As I said earlier, I wish you were cancerous, but it's okay. We won't hold that against you or any other zodiac. My birthday is right around the corner, so I'm going to keep celebrating from yours on into mine. But this particular week, we find ourselves back at another week of civil unrest in the country. If you've been paying attention to the news, I don't know how you could miss it. But we find out just after all of the things that have been going on, we find ourselves with a young man sitting in the drive-thru in the Wendy's parking lot in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll say his name, Rayshard Brooks, but you've got to see this. So as you just saw in yet again another disturbing video where we see a murder happening live in front of us, I don't know even where to begin of how to put that in words. I mean, I know I can't speak for all of you. I can tell you that I've been out driving before where I know I needed to pull over and just park and rest for a minute because I'd either been out too late or partying. But the way the entire situation escalated, I'm curious, Tiffany, what is your thought as you see that happen and the way it's unfolded? And then they burned down the Wendy's the very following day as part of their protest.
I think what's tragic about this particular case is that the cop engaged with this man for about 30 minutes before it even escalated. You know, he was a young brother married with 2 or 3 kids, something like that. And he was on parole, so I'm sure that has something to do with him getting nervous and wanting to run when he felt an escalation in tensions. But originally, it didn't start off and it didn't escalate quickly. It was a long time for you to engage with a person. And then what I found interesting, not only did I find interesting that it was a white woman who burned down the Wendy's, since you brought that part of it up.
The shooting was justified because, you know, he had taken the taser from him, and they tried to say that the taser is a deadly weapon, although it's not as deadly as a gun. Do you see the taser as a weapon as you think about how the entire video played out?
Well, I do think that the taser is a weapon, and that was one of the things that, I brought up in conversation with people. You know, the whole incident was very unfortunate, and of course, I would not condone the shooting of the young man based on what had taken place. But then I also raised the question, do we assign any responsibility to the young man for taking the taser? The problem is that we don't know what was said in between that sparked the change in what happened. So like you said, they were very calm, they talked to him. for about 30 minutes before
Yeah.
all of this kind of went left. What happened? What was the conversation, at that point? What fear did he receive that prompted him to take the taser from them as they started to scuffle and then just run, opposed to just running?
Yeah, and some say it was, your fight or flight instinct kicks in, probably the fact that he's been drinking. That's the piece that I keep reminding myself. He was drunk and asleep and passed out and they woke him up. Like I don't even know where my mindset would be, the fact that he could even articulate, but you could still tell he wasn't fully there and they knew that. I'm curious, Ernest, what do you think in looking at that whole series of events and how it's played out? And it's literally one death on top of another, with this one being, I can't even say the latest, because I'm sure if we watch the news tonight or tomorrow, there's been something else, unfortunately, that's equally tragic that's happened. But what's your thoughts about Atlanta?
Well, first of all, it's very unfortunate once again. And just when we think we're going in a direction, we have to still realize that clearly there are angry police officers who definitely don't share how we feel about this situation. I do think, when I first saw the video, first thing I said was, why did he take the taser? Why would he even fight the cops? Just a lot of stuff that I don't know. I just don't understand. But when I heard more, I realized, that they were trying to get this man to admit that he was drunk, first of all. And then he took the taser. Now, first when I saw him turn around and try to tase him, I thought that was bad. But in other cases, and unfortunately this isn't the case in Georgia, in other cases, a taser is not considered a lethal weapon. It's not a deadly weapon. Right. It can only do so much to you. So when this gentleman ran, which I don't understand, no matter what he did, we found out that he was on parole and a lot of other things that were going on with him, but nothing constitutes them shooting and killing this man. He was not a threat. Like they said, they had the guy's driver's license. They knew where he was. He had his car. There were other ways of handling the situation in which they didn't. It is very unfortunate, and once again, here we are revisiting the same thing that we talk about over and over again.
And I'm curious, Shana, because, part of the report that also came out, he took the taser, they had the scuffle, he ran, he misfired it twice, meaning they knew that it could not officially discharge. They already knew that prior to. I'm wondering what's your thoughts about how things unfolded at the very end, because he literally, at least the coroner's report or the medical examiner's report is the shots were directly to the back. It's not as if they were in the side or in the front, but literally he had already turned back to continue running in motion when he actually lost his life. What's your thinking in seeing the horrific event?
I like to go back a little bit, because before we got to the part of him taking the taser, he actually shot one of the officers with the taser. One of them he made contact with. But before we got to there, and there was a 40-minute conversation, right. I cannot figure out how it escalated to a physical fight where I saw one of the officer who did not do the actual shooting, his lawyers were on CNN. And so what they were saying was that he had no idea that the other officer had made the decision to place him under arrest without even notifying him. So that part is the issue that I have. There's a whole 40-minute conversation where Mr. Brooks didn't give any, he was very respectful. He didn't give any issues to them. He wasn't driving under the influence. He was asleep behind the wheel. He didn't drive until they asked him to. And there's just so many things that happened in the beginning that I think they could have de-escalated it. I don't understand why it even got to the point that they wanted to arrest him. Let the man pull over and sleep it off. And then he's still alive. They go home safe. One of the officers ended up with a concussion. I mean, he could have prohibited it. That could have been prohibited. It's just like the training isn't there. The training, that's the part. The training just needs to be there for these officers. Rashawn didn't become a doctor overnight. You don't get to hold a key respectful position overnight. There's training that needs to take place. And clearly in this case, you've got one guy who supposedly is under the influence that drags and beats two cops into the ground, basically, disarms them, takes a weapon. It's clear there is not enough training here.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, Shana, because the piece that sticks with me is not only do we look at the fact that he's sitting in drive-thru, they've awakened him from sleep, they ask him to drive the car to the spot, he gets out, all of those things that we've seen. But the piece that I still struggle and grapple with is the reality that in the middle of that 30-minute or so or 40-minute or so conversation, how many other options could have actually been explored? And the officer's name, we should say it for the record, Garrett Rolfe, was fired and charged with 11 counts, including felony murder in the shooting. And after the charges were issued, I don't know if you all saw this though, but the Twitter handle Atlanta PD sent out a message that told people, don't report to your shift tonight. You've caught the blue flu. So don't risk your lives for people who want your blood. Let Atlanta burn. What are your thoughts about the actual members of this who are sworn to serve and protect, who are now saying we're going to do a stick out basically and not show up to work to protect those who are most vulnerable? I'm curious. We'll start with you, Dr. Broadnax. What's your thoughts about that? Literally, the blue flu?
I thought that was really unfortunate, but I did love when Mayor Bottoms came on and she said, be that as it may, Atlanta is fully covered. The people basically would not be missed. The night would be covered as it usually is. So that put out the notice, I think, back to them. It was basically like a response back to them in my eyes that you can do this. However, you have not jeopardized anything. The intent that you initially tried to bring on, is thwarted, basically.
Yeah. And Tiffany, what's your thought? I mean, literally, we see, because, people make the argument, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, blue lives matter. But in this case, the police turn around to Dr. Broadnax's point. They're like, wow, they're going to really stick out. I'm just curious, what's your thought? They truly did not report the work in full force. And they say the neighboring police departments that were also called, many of them also didn't answer the call and said, we're not showing up for Atlanta either.
Good riddance. Let them be gone. Be gone with all of you. Because if that's really what it is, if you don't want to be accountable for doing wrong, and if you feel like you're justified in killing someone in cold blood, when I do remember one part of that 30-minute conversation where he said, I could walk to my sister's house.
Right.
That's all you had to do is just let him, you could have kept the car, you could have impounded the car and just let him walk on. And it would have been over.
So you actually.
So if that to them justifies them walking out, you can be replaced.
I'm curious then, Ernest, is it so much them walking out or is it them trying to show solidarity? Because now remember, while he's been charged, Garrett has not been convicted as of yet. So are we doing the same thing?
In my opinion, they're no different than what we're trying to get rid of, the corruption in the police officer. If you can look at this and your final reasoning of what you're doing, and you don't understand that there was definitely clearly something wrong. We have enough corrupt cops as it is right now. And I think just like the people who call out, that's cowardly to me. You're a public servant. You're there to protect the people. And I just think it's a really coward move, a different way, an awful way of showing your display of being disappointed about how this thing is taking place. You're supposed to protect and serve. If you're staying home and you're not willing to do your job, then you probably shouldn't be an officer anyway.
Well said. So Shane,
on to Ernest.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Broadnax.
Say something else to that, Ernest. The way I looked at it was I didn't expect anything different from those people. Once it had been said that they had called out, and rightfully so, or not rightfully so, but so they try to show solidarity with their fellow coworker. It told me that the mindset was very similar. And so I could not expect anything other than, if you have a similar mindset, if you can stand up for someone who can murder someone else, then your mindset is no different. And like you said, Byron, earlier, that there was many things that could have taken place. And there was a time where an officer would have taken you to your home. That was one option. Like you said, also let him go. I did understand the fact that maybe they wanted to place him under arrest because he was then, if he's drunk and in a vehicle, he's a danger to other people, realistically. So to take him into custody was, that was an option, but it didn't have to be the first option or the only.
No, that's very well said. Shane, I'm going to give you the last thought as it relates to the entire blue flu. And I wonder if you think we'll see instances like that happen across the country as many members of the police forces in different cities who are addressing issues. Like Seattle has an entire autonomous zone where they've taken over 4 or 5, and the police basically said, y'all just have it. We ain't intervening right now. You think the blue flu ends up being appropriate? I mean, is it warranted in this case?
Well, you know, the thing is that the officers like us and everyone else have the right to feel the way that they want to feel about the situation. And they have the right to protest in any form, you know, that they decide they want to protest. But like Ernest says, the ones who are willing to stand up and protest in this particular situation, those are those bad apples that they're talking about. Those are the ones that should not be police officers, and it actually does us a better service that they are not out there. And so I kind of think that the ones who ended up with the blue flu should just stay home and not come back. Let the officers who care about policing the community and actually protecting and serving, let them do the work. And then let's focus on hiring more cops like them. Because the bad apples, we got to find a way to weed them out. And if they're willing to volunteer and show you who they are, let's believe them the first time. You're not a servant of the people.
Yes, because Maya Angelou truly said, when people show you who they are, believe them. And mentioning that, we know last week we talked about the kente cloth and folks in the House kneeling. Well, this particular week, you know, the Senate released their own police reform bill. If you saw Republican Tim Scott out of South Carolina, he introduced the Justice Act, which was aimed at addressing police reform in the wake of George Floyd's death. There are a number of issues, but one of the key problems with the bill is that it doesn't include anything like outlawing chokeholds. Is this a much to do about nothing? Do you think it's more of a pacifier bill, or do you think there is some intentional behavior or ideas behind the passage, or the submission, I should say, not the passage, the introduction of this legislation? Curious, Tiffany, since you always follow the political beat, here we are in the Senate, at least we've got a bill on the floor, but what does that mean to you?
It will do nothing. It will accomplish nothing. It is worth nothing. And Tim Scott needs to be ashamed. Cedric Richards and the House legislation bill will actually accomplish what we need to do. And if the Senate and Mitch McConnell doesn't want to take up that legislation, then we see who you are too.
Did you basically just say that it was garbage? I just want to be on record.
And it's funny because that was nicer than what I was going to say, because I was going to say it's some bullshit. It's bullshit. But I mean, I'm working on me, so garbage.
It's your birthday week. You can say what you want to say. Tell us, boo. Tell us how you feel.
Yeah. So it really doesn't, like she mentioned, it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't address any of the key concerns or the key issues. I would be okay right now with seeing a bill that is a pacifier to start. But that little thing doesn't even pacify anything. It doesn't cover anything. And what kills me is this little database situation that they keep talking about is like, it's a database of officers who were convicted. Well, we know what the conviction rates are. I don't want to know about the ones that are convicted. That's public record. That's in the news.
It's not even mandatory to put anything in it. Yeah. What's the point? It's
not. I want to know who's gotten fired. I want to see what's in their files. I want to see what's in the jackets, especially if it's a consistent recurring thing. That's what I want to know.
Ernest, you have any thoughts about that as we look at this particular legislation? So you do have a bill in the House, which people say as Tiffany just mentioned, it goes much further than the one in the Senate, which is more of a watered down version. And of course, we should be mindful. Now, Tim Scott is an African-American senator from the state of South Carolina. Do you think maybe it's just the effort of him saying, I know this is at least part of the process? What is your thought between the two?
It is BS and it is garbage. And we're in the middle of a political year and you have to do something. Our idiot leader, 45, happened to jump behind and, try to put his 2 cents in to make it seem like he's putting forth an effort. Yet you're doing nothing. If the chokehold, I'm going to ban the chokehold unless an officer's life is in jeopardy. What is that? What does that say? It's garbage. It is saying nothing. It is a political effort to try to say that you're trying to do something when you're actually doing nothing.
And they always feel like their life is in danger when they're dealing with us. So then that makes the chokehold admissible. You can do it then because your life is in danger.
Just because the skin. I was going to come to you, Dr. Broadnax. What's your thought about that? That's a very good point, though, Shana. We always put their lives in danger if you're listening to them. What's your thought when you hear that?
I think we're all in agreement. Basically, I looked at it as, like you said, a pacifier, but I'm hoping that it's a jumping off point. I'm hoping that someone else will pick it up and say, well, you know what, we need to add this to it, and they kind of work through it that way. So I'm hoping that someone else will have the courage to step forward and do that, and so that we can actually have something that means something.
Well, talking about courage, hold on, Tiffany. I was going to say, talking about courage, I got to keep us going. It's a lot in there on that. We know at some point they've got to reconcile both. But as you mentioned courage this week, I don't know if you all watched what the Supreme Court did. Literally, as we're taping the show tonight, the Supreme Court just blocked the administration's attempt to end DACA, which is an Obama-era program. As you know, it protected hundreds of thousands of immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. It kept them from being deported. And this opinion by this court, it marks the second time in a week when the Supreme Court has ruled against the guy in the White House. And mind you, he appointed two of the folks.
Most of them. Yeah, I feel like
two of the folks who are on there. Let's get into that. I'm curious, Shana, what do you think? Is his Supreme Court turning against him at this point?
Well, the funniest thing is no immigrant is allowed except his wife, apparently, in this country. Okay.
She's no longer an immigrant.
We'll only take one Hungarian immigrant, and all the other immigrants have to be gone. But it's interesting because I think, like you said, he's appointed these people. They voted against him. But I think everybody is realizing we kind of got to jump ship from him because it is a sinking ship. At some point, they have to realize with the power and the influence, he's going down. He's gotten caught up in so much stuff that they have to start looking at securing their jobs and not having people point the finger at them for being impartial or supporting or showing too much support for him.
No, because the Supreme Court serves for life. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, God thank her for holding on as long as she can. She's still serving, right? I'm sure she's like, I'm tired, I want to sit down, but she can't. I'm curious, Tiffany, what's your thought? You think the Supreme Court, especially since the fact that Boehner, not Boehner, John Roberts, the Chief Justice, turned around and said, nah, bro, I can't get with the occupant on this one. Tiffany, what's your thinking?
I thought what I found the most interesting was that Neil Gorsuch was the one that wrote the opinion. So it's his signature first on this. And he was definitely a 45 guy who we were adamantly against. Because that should have been Merrick Garland's spot, but that's another conversation. I think that it's the right thing to do. I'm also glad that the NAACP was the one that brought this case to the Supreme Court. Yeah. That shows a lot on their part and the way that the justices are ruling in terms of issues that concern minorities situations. But I'm still waiting to see what else they're going to do because his taxes is up next.
Well, two of those have come.
Yes, that's what I'm waiting to see.
Ernest, you think the tide, like Shana said, you think the tide of not only just public opinion but political opinion is starting to shift against him in this particular case? 2 decisions in 1 week. That's like unheard of for this.
I agree. It is unheard of. I am very proud of the Supreme Court's their ruling. You know, the thing is, when you're put in, it's sad to know that you're appointed for life. And when your turn, I mean, when it's time to vote, you know, we look at Kavanaugh and I can't think of the Clarence Thomas and these other people. It doesn't matter what happens. It's whatever the president wants. They're loyal to him. It's not about being loyal to just the president. It's bigger than that. You're supposed to do your job. I take my hat off to Justice Roberts for doing what he thinks is the right thing. Once again, this is your legacy. You know, long be hope. Your loyalty cannot be to someone who's only going to be there for a short period of time when you're serving for life. I think he finally got it right. I expect nothing from Clarence Thomas. Never have, never will. Kavanaugh, I expect from him. Thank God for Roberts, and maybe we have more people that are like him that are really standing up to do the right thing as opposed to the loyal thing.
Yeah. Dr. Broadnax, I'll give you the final thought as we talk about the Supreme Court before we move forward. What's your thinking? You think this is going to be a trend, or do you think this is like, let's just take this 1 week for what it is? We got 2 wins, and we'll see what happens next week.
Well, the trend that I hope continues is not so much that they will rule in favor of things, but that they will do the right thing, because really that is their job. So, you know, while I'm very happy for the 2 decisions that we received this week, I'm more happy so that they have done their job, you know, that they have been impartial and done their job, which is the job of the judge.
You're right, because we got three branches, right? That's the judicial branch, and they have a different responsibility. Mentioning people who make decisions and sometimes possibly have to apologize for them later. Also back in Georgia, an evangelical pastor, Louis Giglio, of a mega church in Atlanta. If you saw this, he's apologizing after outrage on social media where he suggested that slavery should be viewed as a blessing to white people. He also said that instead of using the term white privilege, he refers to it as a white blessing. I'm living in the blessing of the curse that happened generationally that allowed me to grow up in Atlanta. Those were his exact words. Take a look at this quick video.
A lot of people call this white privilege, and when you say those two words, it just is like a fuse goes off for a lot of white people because they don't want somebody telling them to check their privilege. And so I know that you and I both have struggled in these days with, hey, if the phrase is the trip up, let's get over the phrase and let's get down to the heart.
Sure.
Let's get down to what then do you want to call it? And I think maybe a great thing for me is to call it white blessing.
I just wanted to come directly to you today and sincerely apologize for the use of the phrase on Sunday, white blessing. And I extend that apology today to every single person who is listening to me right now. But most importantly, I extend that apology to my Black brothers and sisters.
So Shana, we just watched that video, and I mean, it's amazing that a person who is not in office, but a pastor who has a very large congregation that's multiracial, as I understand it, in Atlanta, uttered those specific words. I mean, you know, he did offer an apology. Do you think it's out of context? Or do you think there's probably some truth to what he actually said?
Well, the funniest thing is, and I know you guys are going to jump me through this screen, but it's true. I mean, what he said is absolutely true. We don't like it. So it's almost like when we're in the store and somebody gives us some extra change back, we thought, oh, it's a blessing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just certain things that we recognize as blessings. And it is, I mean, slavery was a huge blessing for white folks. It helped them to build America. It helped them to build wealth. And it helped them to colonize the country. I mean, it's done everything for them, which is the definition of blessing. We don't like it. Some blessings are good, some are bad. But for them, it was a great blessing. It was a tragic experience for us, but definitely a blessing. White privilege, blessing.
You seem like you agree with that perspective because you got a little excited and animated. I'm curious. You agree?
I did, because based on the wording, it is true. You know, it is we have done so much to aid them in their journey. So that, to me, we are a blessing to them, even though, like Shana said, it was a tragic experience for us and we still suffer, but it has been an immense blessing for them. So I can see where he would acknowledge that.
Okay. Ernest, I'm gonna come to you because I certainly have some thoughts. I'm gonna hold mine just for a second. I'm gonna come to you and then go to Tiffany.
I'm gonna yield to you, actually. I'm going to yield my time to you, actually. I'm very, I hear about it, but I'm really, really up in the air about the whole thing. You know, I have mixed feelings both ways. So, yeah, I'm going to.
Well, I'll take your time.
Let the record reflect the gentleman has yielded his time.
Right.
I yielded to the man in Clinton.
And you cannot reclaim it later.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Right. I was just going to say, Tiffany, I'll give it to you in just a second. I did watch a more extended version of the clip and saw what he was attempting to say, because context matters, right? It really does. And you could take anything that we've said on this particular show and parse it down to 30 seconds or 45 seconds. And without the context of the full conversation, it could be twisted. I won't go so far as Shana to say that it was truly a blessing. His intention behind the language was saying, how do you take a negative situation or something that has transpired that is so horrific, see the value in it, and then realize that you need to learn and grow from it. And the crazy thing is, in our cancel culture, as we've talked about on a previous episode, I just don't think people have any patience right now. There's no grace given for anybody, which is why his apology was swift and immediate. But Tiffany, you look like you have some deep, deep thoughts. What's your perspective about Pastor Giglio out of Atlanta?
You know, I do. And of course, for white people, that's true. It is a blessing. My concern about this is you're supposed to be a man of God. You're supposed to be a pastor. Is this how you lead and how you cultivate your people? Saying that, having this type of philosophy, because it's going to come across in your message on the pulpit. Yeah, you have, like you say, he has a multicultural whatever. So you made your intentions very clear, and there needs to be no Black people in your pulpit, in your pews, no more. But aside from that, yeah, I have no.
Wait. So are you saying Black people shouldn't even go to his church because?
No, I said there should be none of us. There should be no Black people in his church. They can do whatever they want to do. They go and do whatever they want to do, regardless. But I don't know. My issue from it is not from the standpoint of, he should be canceled because of what he said. No, for them it was a blessing. But my thing is that you're still supposed to be a representative of God's people. You're supposed to be someone that speaks from God's. That's the issue. That's the issue for me.
And as we all know, slavery was used as a tool. Religion was used as a tool.
And they used religion as a tool to continue the enslavement.
Yeah, and in my
that's the issue. Not the validity of the comment. It's the person who's delivering the message. Yeah. And this also speaks to why the evangelical church is no longer a religious organization and just a political one. They might as well just acknowledge the fact that they are all political, and that's the bottom line of everything that they do.
That sounds like a whole segment right there. I'm gonna put a pin there. We're gonna save that for a future episode because we got to get to what has become my favorite segment right now. Right? Not that I have many, but this particular one,
Is that the wine tasting part? Is that the wine tasting segment? Is that the wine tasting segment? No, it's not the wine taste. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I need a little hydration. No, my favorite segment has become the Karen Hall of Fame. It really has, because unfortunately, Karens are popping up. Karens, Kens, Kevins, pick any terminology. They pop up all day, every day. But here we go again. So it's worth mentioning we have a new inductee into the Karen Hall of Fame. I actually think we should create some kind of award, get an address, and ship it, right? But the LaFace Skincare CEO, Lisa Alexander, she apologizes after backlash when she and her husband caught a man who was stenciling the words Black Lives Matter on the front of his own house. Stenciling in chalk, mind you, and after telling him that he didn't live there. Take a look at this particular. So Dr. Broadnax, we saw that interesting one. Truly, truly worthy of being an inductee in the Karen Hall of Fame. What's your perspective as you see Lisa and her husband literally accosting this guy about doing something what we know is on his own property and not, as she said, I know the owner, as if that was supposed to intimidate him?
Okay, so first of all, I was really surprised that she would go as far as to do that. Now, semantics, he's not the owner of the house.
True.
He rents it. And so my question though, because he did raise that he's been there almost 2 decades, my question is, had she seen him before? Had they had any type of interaction? Because maybe she had not seen him. Because apparently, from the guy's own admission, this is a very wealthy neighborhood. The houses are very large, and so maybe she had not noticed this guy. Maybe she's fairly new to the neighborhood. I don't know. But I was really surprised that she would go as far as she did, and I felt a little bad for her, but you make your bed, you must lie. She did lose her contracts and things like that. So I had posted on my social media that one little conversation that you have can change your life, because her whole life has been changed. Hopefully she will learn from this, as well as other people would learn from it as well.
I was going to say, Shani, you're a business owner. What's your thought about that? Because she truly, I won't even say she spoke out of turn, but she did it and it seemed like she was trying to be respectable, but you know how that looks one way, but you know what's really the undercurrent. So I'm curious, you agree with that perspective, or what's your thought?
Right. So what's weird is that what we noticed from Karen to Karen is that these people have good jobs. They've got respectable jobs. Her husband was at Raymond James, Wealth Management. So, and it's funny because I think the woman who was in the park, she was
Cooper.
Lincoln Financial. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So it's like these are people that are managing people's wealth. They've got money. They're managing expensive things and looking after people's portfolios. Like, you should have, what, money doesn't give you class and clearly doesn't give you common sense. So this woman is running a business, and I would like to think that after that, because like you mentioned, as a business owner, I'm always conscious of what I do, right? Because I have to be conscious that my customers are looking at me. And if I say something sideways, or if I do something sideways, not only are my customers going to be affected, my staff is going to be impacted, contracts will be impacted. Like, it's crazy. But ultimately, you are who you are, and it's going to show itself. And if you are not a good person or you have bad intentions, all it takes is for a Filipino man to be scribbling something on the side of his face, and it's going to throw you for a loop. The way this country is running now, with Ernest as president in charge, people are going crazy right now, and it's getting heightened and heightened and heightened because he's not saying anything to neutralize or calm the people down. So all these races that have been in hiding before, all the white supremacists that have been quiet because they were so unsure when we had a better president in place, now they know it's okay. It's like free will to go out and say whatever, do whatever, and there are no consequences.
Well, I was going to say,
I think he might be writing checks back to these people, all these people that are losing their jobs, because it seems like they see what the outcome is going to be, but they're still doing it. He's funding them. He's funding them.
There's a song that came out from the last situation. You about to lose your job.
You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Oh my goodness. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Cause you are telling me for nothing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job.
Hey, you about to lose. But so the thing is, even if they lose their job, if he's secretly funding these people afterwards, if the KKK or the white, look, that other cop done fundraised $1 million to bail out. Like, people are funding them even when they lose their job. So, it's like they are probably placed on a pedestal in the white supremacy Hall of Fame.
So Tiffany, I gotta let that go. So Tiffany, the real question is, and Ernest, is that if you realize that you're being filmed, right? I'm recording this. At what point in time do you say, why don't you just shut up instead of keep talking, getting yourself further in trouble? Because she kept talking. Like,
well, it's all these Karens. It's not just this one. It's the one that was with the sister that called her the N-word and said, I'm going to go to the cops and all. Then they end up at the police station. All of these women that all think that it's just okay to do whatever you want because of the women in the past, centuries and centuries, these white women that have gotten away with doing things like this. The woman that was involved with Emmett Till, there's no difference. The mentality and the thought process hasn't changed. It's just the methodology that you're using. And it really, for me, goes back to Martin, who said the worst people aren't the ones that are racist in your face. It's the liberals that are doing it behind your back. Yeah. That's not the exact quote, but you know what I'm saying. Yep. And this is proof. The one in New York, Amy Cooper, she donated to Obama, and she was supposed to be all this and all that. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Racist is racist regardless. So
yeah. So Ernest, we're gonna give you the final word on this particular one as we think about this couple. And we made it about Lisa because she's Karen. She was definitely the most vocal, but her husband was also standing there. And as Shayna just pointed out, he lost his job as well because he literally spoke up saying the same thing. No, that ain't your property. What's your thinking about the whole situation?
Well, I want to start first by correcting the record, Shayna. I am not a 45 supporter, just so you guys know. Not a 45. Do not text me. Do not call me. Secondly, I hate to say it again, but here we are again. How many times are we going to keep preaching the same thing about the privileged Karens and the people who believe that they can say whatever they want? And it doesn't matter what type of neighborhood you are sure. Now, what I believe they think is that by them being in this neighborhood, this type of stuff we can quietly talk about, but we can't display it. I want to quickly give a shout out to the city of Tacoma Park, where I know that at least, I'm being nice by saying 75% of the homes there in the town that I work for have Black Lives Matter up. They have LGBT support thing. This is year round. This is not just now. This is all the time. And these are $1 million homes as well. There are people who feel and do the right thing. But once again, who are you to tell somebody what not to do and then to use your privilege to say something, to lie, to fabricate that you know who lives there when you really don't? How many Karens are wrong? How many privileged people are wrong in their assessments or their assumptions about people, and they try to use the fact of who they are to make valid their point when they're actually lying the whole time?
Yeah.
Should she lose her job and do I care? I don't care. I really don't care. Whatever happened to them, I don't understand why the husband got fired, but I don't care either.
Well, he was
a bystander. He deserved what he got to.
Complicit because he was also offering commentary. It wasn't like he didn't say nothing because he did, but she was the one, like right there in his face. It's interesting as we observe what's happening, and I'm wondering if you all are noticing and sensing the same type of shift, that there is a definite cultural shift in society right now as we look at all the unrest that follows, right? The murder of George Floyd. So last week we talked about Gone with the Wind is being removed from HBO Max. And then this week, if you saw it, Bubba Wallace, who's a driver for a NASCAR, came out and said he was going to paint a vehicle, Black Lives Matter, as a tribute. But NASCAR also turned around and said that the Confederate flag and apparel that showcases that is now banned. In addition to that, I'm curious what you think, because we just heard the other day, Aunt Jemima, we got to say bye-bye. We're saying bye-bye to Miss Butterworth, and we're saying bye-bye to Uncle's Ben's. These popular brands will now go away due to their racist past and their original origin. Is it a move that we would say it's way too long and it's long overdue, or do you think we're doing way too much by asking these iconic brands to replace themselves with something different that's more fitting for the times? What's your thought, Doctor?
Well, are they going to come back with the same syrup? That's all I want to know. Are they coming back with the same pancake mix? I don't care who's on the box, okay? I don't care if Uncle Ben is there. He was handsome now. Listen, am I going to have the rice? Am I going to have the pancake mix? Am I going to have the syrup? Because I don't want log cabin. So you about to take Aunt Jemima and Miss Butterworth. I can't. I don't want log cabin, and I don't want king syrup. No. So are they just going to rebrand and come up with a different logo?
They're supposed to be rebranding and
goodness going. Okay, they can do that part, but I don't want them to be gone. It can't be gone.
Shayna, did I hear you say you don't really care who's on the package or what it looks like?
I don't care.
You still get the contents.
Because I think they changed the Mrs. Butterworth. They changed, because I remember at one point she had the red rag tied around her head.
No, that was Aunt Jemima. They changed it.
Aunt Jemima. Okay, so she was a straight up blood. But since in the last couple of decades, she wasn't banging no more. She's been gang banging in a couple of decades, so they updated it. She got a nice little feather flip now. So I think they could have left it like that, as long as she ain't gang banging no more. I mean,
oh my God. Dr.
Chris walk up in here.
Save us.
I would agree with Shayna. You know what? I'll say it never really bothered me. And if anything, I would say, don't look at it for the negative, but be proud that we are the representation. And like we said, we can't deny our history and we can't deny who we were, but we can take pride in being a representation. So I think that it's like, half full, glass half full. It can go either way. To me, it never really bothered me. I like Miss Butterworth. I would be very sad if she's gone, and I think, what would you replace her with that I could look at and say, that reminds me of my grandmother?
Right, because we're not going to be on anything else anymore.
Right.
So if you take Aunt Jemima, Mrs. Butterworth, and Uncle Ben, ain't nobody getting rid of the Quaker man.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a good history type of situation, but he's still going to be on them grits. He's still going to be on that oatmeal.
You know what else I would say? As I'm just thinking about it, it's not as if the people are like in blackface or something like that. To me, it's just a representation, like Mrs. Butterworth, a representation of the woman who worked in the kitchen, which you all know was the Black woman.
So you think it's gone too far then?
What?
So we're
to
going
ask them to change it?
Yeah, they're going too far making those changes.
I'll just say it never really bothered me.
Okay.
So we're not going to be on nothing anymore. We're not going to be on anything.
We're going to be on
We're going out the grocery. We're going to be on who? It's no other black products that have the face on it in the store. Miss Sylvia's or whatever.
It's not like it was black owned.
Well, and so Tiffany, to that point, I'm curious because, part of the conversation has been around PepsiCo, which is the parent company. They're doing a significant donation. I think it's $200 million or so. But then there is this broader conversation around where are the suppliers? How do you bring about real change and investment? So do you invest in businesses? Do you have partnerships with companies of color? Is that a better way to actually achieve the ultimate goal as opposed to just changing the imaging on the packaging? Curious, Tiffany, what's your...
Yeah, it's not that I don't care about the imaging on the package because that is problematic and it goes back to those mammy days and all that. That's an issue. My concern is I need to see better representation in C-suites. I need to see more Black people executives. I need to see, you know what I'm saying? I need to see better relationships with Black-owned banks. I need those kinds of, it is not that I don't care about the packaging because that is important. But if you're going to start doling out dollars, I appreciate endorsing, it's giving the money as an endorsement to the HBCUs. I appreciate that type of thing has more value to me than some liberals trying to say, I don't want people to boycott my product because I got Aunt Jemima on the cover. That's not going to work for me. I need more Black people in some C-suites.
C-suites and board seats, or do like
exactly. And more
than
one. I need more than just the token. So give me a couple.
So you want 30%, 40%, something like that?
I'd like to see 55 to be honest, but I'll take 45.
I like to see any of us get appointed. I'm good with that. Ernest, what's your thought about that? Because in that same vein, Barbara Streisand this past week also. She put her money where her mouth was, like with George Floyd's daughter, decided since she loved Disney, I'm not going to send you to Disney, even if I could in the midst of COVID. She actually made her a shareholder and bought her stock. So
that's what I'm talking about.
And people trying to do things to be accountable and make a difference. Do you think that there's a real cultural shift that's long overdue?
Well, here we are. First of all, the only thing that really affects me is Uncle Ben's rice. I'm like Shayna, just don't change the taste of my Uncle Ben rice. Cream of wheat, let's not forget. So we're losing the faces. Cream of wheat, Mrs. Butterworth, Aunt Jemima. Once again, long as the products are still there, we don't own them. It's just a face. I'm reminded of something that George Floyd's daughter said, my dad's going to change the world. Okay, you guys look around. We can't really complain about these things. They may be kind of small or semi-insignificant to us, but it is a gesture. I'm willing to accept anything along with what Tiffany said and put us in positions of power where we have a little more control other than just making us disappear and the problem disappear. Let's fix it by putting us in better positions of leadership so that we can be seen in these positions as opposed to just trying to, I guess, pat us on the back and show us that we're trying to do something as opposed to, putting us in those positions.
Well, in that same vein, talking about change, guess what? So the long-running hit show, The Bachelor, has announced that they have their first African-American male as the Bachelor for the upcoming season. Now, I don't think it starts until January 2021, but of course, they'll start production sometimes late this fall. Shayna, you have some uneasiness. What was that? I saw you move and shift. I mean, we have a Black Bachelor now.
You know what? I hate to sound this way or to appear this way, but it's the truth. I'm going to keep it real because we family. I don't care so much as I just want us to have our own. Like, I want us to stop trying to be the first of they in their world. Like, okay, we got a Black male Bachelor. It's going to be 75% white chicks up there that they giving them away to. It's going to be like 3-4 Black girls. They not going to be like real Black girls. You're going to get like some half breeds, and then you're going to get the ghetto one that he's going to kick off on week 2. Like, it's just not even going to be, and the producers are going to push it in a way that he's going to end up with a white chick at the end. Like, So they're another good brother gone to a white girl. Like, stop it. And you're going to do it on national TV. So now you're going to show the world that it's okay. You're going to show them the process of how Black men eliminate Black women. Because we know it can't be all Black chicks and 3 white chicks, which is what they kind of the ratio they do when it's the other way around. Because then they're going to say, oh, it's racist. Like, get on your head. We need our own shows. We need to do our own stuff, put our own people with our own people.
Anybody got anything to add to that?
I'll add to it because I was thinking the same thing as Tiffany and Ernest were talking. I said, it's great if they can put us in position, but I don't want anybody to put me in position. I want to reach the position on my own. And because it means more to me when I've gotten there. So I think, like what Shayna said, we have to start redeveloping. And I say redevelop because we can't forget Black Wall Street. Redevelop things for ourselves and for our community, for our culture, so that we can support one another and we can put our own people to the top, where they can have a seat at other tables because they are at the top. You know what I mean? Let's not wait for other people to put us in position because just as easily as they put us there, they can remove us.
That's right. That's very well said.
And they're going to isolate us while we're at their tables. We're going to be just one of us in a room with 20 of them. We're not going to speak up like you would think, oh, we're in the room. We're in the room quiet. You'll hear a rat pissing on cotton. We're not going to say nothing. We're going to be so afraid to speak our minds because we're the token. Like, this is where the conversation of reparations comes in. We need money and resources to do our own stuff, link together with our own people, grow and build our own neighborhoods and our own networks. Just get your foot off our throats and let us start back doing it.
Like a businesswoman who's a boss. Ernest, you were going to say something a couple minutes ago. I want to get you in the conversation too.
Well, to begin, I don't watch The Bachelor anyway. This is not going to encourage. I did try to check it out one time, and man, I was just bored out of my mind. But here we are once again. This is a gesture to try to make it seem like Black people, stepping up another positive, head in the direction of us as colored people trying to put us out here. I saw the guy who was a runner-up, and he was much more of a brother than this guy that is here. As he did the right thing, he congratulated the guy for getting the part or whatever. But that's a brother to me. Now, this dude here, looking him up, and it's not really so much that we care about he's Black or white, because like I said, I'm not going to watch the show anyway. But I think it's once again, another just, at least we're moving, guys. Now, listen, baby steps. We're not going to do all this at one time. But small gestures, and this one really is like a dot on a piece of paper, putting a Black guy on the Bachelor.
To pick a white girl, though, to pick a white girl.
It doesn't matter. Like you guys said, 80% of the girls are going to be white anyway.
And I was going to say, but to that point, if the show is not really going to come out until January 2021, right, we're sitting here in the middle of civil unrest and a crisis right here in the month of June. You're talking about something 6 or 7 months from now. I call it what it is. They're trying to claim some advantage. We also know that the occupant is supposed to be hosting a rally. One of his campaign rallies is going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It originally was going to be on the same date as Juneteenth. It's now moved to the 20th. But what's interesting about it, they say supposedly over 1 million folks have signed up saying that they want to go. But every single attendee is going to be required to sign a disclaimer saying that in the event that they receive or give COVID to someone else, the coronavirus, that the campaign is not held liable. What's your thoughts about that, Shayna?
I'm not going. No.
You weren't going whether they had to sign a liability waiver or not.
Correct. Exactly. They could have given me $1 million and I'm not going. Yes, so they have to sign a waiver, and then it appears that they're going to be checking temperatures and doing all kinds of things, but masks are going to be optional. But what they're saying is that this is an optional event, like a sporting event, right, and your risk is the same. Yeah, but there's no sports going on right now with fans during this pandemic. So it's the craziest foolishness, botcherish. I'm surprised that Tulsa is letting them go because North Carolina said hell to the Nizzo.
Right.
Crazy. Not more craziness from the people.
Dr. Broadnax, what do you think about that? Do you think folks should be held liable whether they sign the waiver or not? Or is that kind of a misrepresentation since, of course, he says coronavirus is not as bad as it really is?
I feel that they should be held liable. First of all, the numbers came out this week that there is a steep uprising of the numbers in Oklahoma. So my thing is, why would you jeopardize people by increasing the chance that they would get it? First of all, like you said, Shayna, it's an optional event, but they're going to check temperatures, but the mask is not, what do you call it?
Required.
Yeah, it's not required. And then as one pundit on CNN said, the thing about the event is that you're going to put people in a room where they're going to be shouting, where they're going to be screaming, where they're going to be spitting, you know, so you undoubtedly are just creating a hotbed of corona in Oklahoma.
Yep, in Tulsa, same place where they burned down Black Wall Street. Mm-hmm. Ernest, what's your thought? I'm curious.
How hypocritical of this administration. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. What type of message are we sending when we know? I mean, people read. I'm like Shane, I'm not going anyway. It doesn't matter. You couldn't pay me enough to go there. But what type of message are we sending? What type of idiots are we? We see something that is actually killing everybody, and you are that loyal that you would sign a waiver, which is bogus. It's awful. But what does that say about you?
And Ernest, you mentioned,
and of course, the party believes that corona is something that the people will have to. This virus is something people are responsible for themselves. Right. What does that say about you if you go to that meeting?
And Ernest, you mentioned, just before we come to you, Tiffany, for your thought as well, you mentioned paying, right? And supposedly, allegedly, there was a Craigslist ad that was posted seeking African-American actors to come and attend and participate. I don't know if folks saw that or not, but I said allegedly because we're not sure, but it would not surprise me if we found that to be true. Curious what your thought is, Tiffany, is from that perspective as well.
Ignorance is expensive, and apparently it can cost you your life. So everyone in attendance, have at it, because y'all laughing.
Ignorance is expensive.
I'm serious.
Yes, it is.
And I can't afford it. I can't afford it.
Either. I got way too much. I have way too much value and worth in order to jeopardize my life or anybody in my family. If I get something and I'm asymptomatic, but I give it to somebody and no. None of it is worth it. It's not. And you can hire all the people that you want to hire, black, white, yellow, purple, green, blue, whatever. Okay. Ain't enough money, ain't enough stupidity for all that. No.
Look,
no,
we're going to leave it on that because you said that ignorance is expensive. I want to move forward before we run out of time. Tiffany, everybody's politically astute, but I know you dig into things. This is one of your favorite senators on the Hill. I don't know if you heard the story, but Senator Lindsey Graham is being hiring male sex workers, and he's being called out as hypocritical by the LGBTQIA community, specifically because of his treatment. And what's also come out, one of the adult film stars brought the accusations to Twitter. They said there is a homophobic Republican senator who is no better than the guy in the White House who keeps passing legislation that is damaging to the LGBTQ community and minority communities. And this man has hired every sex worker I know, wondering if enough of us spoke out, if that could get him possibly out of office. Now, of course, that's this particular adult film star who apparently was a client of Senator Graham's, allegedly. We got to say allegedly. And I should also say, I grew up in North Carolina, so Senator Graham, I don't even think our producer knows this, was my mock trial teacher in high school. So
he's wow, you did mock trial too?
Yes, yeah, I did.
Okay. We're the county champions, so you know.
Okay. So Tiffany, I'm curious. I'm gonna start with you because I know we're gonna be short on time. But what do you think? You think this is gonna damage his political career? Or do you think he can survive it?
I really, I do think he can survive this because he's already known as being two-faced. I think that he needs to be more concerned about Jamie Harrison coming down his throat than he needs to be worried about this because. Shout out to the brother.
Did she say somebody coming down?
I know. Pun intended.
And not. I swallowed real hard.
I can't.
Yeah, as long as there's no video and no pictures of him in any compromising position with these sex workers, I think he'll be okay.
But do you think even if there is video, I mean, we have audio of the occupants saying certain things, and there are like literally 20 or 30 cases, but it had no effect.
Video would say him doing some same-sex acts based on all the things that he said in the past. That could be detrimental.
So he would have to resign. Okay. What do you think, Dr. Broadnax? You think it will be detrimental to his career?
I definitely think that it can be. There's very little room for him to get out of it unscathed, I would think. And I would say this would be an opportunity for the LGBT community to kind of come together to shine more light on this, because remember, this is someone who's very close to someone else who also denounces and kind of just speaks bad about the gay community. And so for you to be that close, you are the good old boy club. Now you're on the outside of the good old boy club, because once it comes to light, and like Shana said, if there's a video, God forbid there's a video, he's going to be kicked to the curb.
I don't know. Grace and mercy going to kick in by the evangelical community. Ernest, I'm going to give you the last thought on this segment before we go to our final point for the night.
I don't think it is going to make a difference. Lindsey Graham Cracker has been in for quite some time, and the people happen to love him. I went to South Carolina, and it was such an eerie feeling. I mean, the people are wonderful there, but they're loyal. I don't think it's really going to make a difference. And even if the video comes out, you guys, let's face it, I no longer have faith and belief, because before, to become the president of the United States, you had to have this certain prestigious behavior. You had to really be a solid individual with very little wrong. You couldn't even have a bad affair and be in the White House, the highest office in the land. Yet, here we are. 45 is still there. I don't think something like that will take him down, even if the video comes down. I think the people who are loyal, that party, they'll continue to be loyal to him.
Well, I should say I have no personal direct knowledge or indirect knowledge of any of his musings or activities, but I certainly find it fascinating. I agree with you there, Ernest, and everybody else. I don't know, absent footage, that we have the capacity to actually jeopardize his political future, but I don't know. You know, it is Pride Month. There's no telling what videos. Look what happened to the former mayor of Tallahassee when those photos surfaced. He would be on the national stage right now for conversations, but literally, I mean, it literally took his career in a whole different direction. That's neither here nor there.
Well, you know what?
We haven't seen him since.
If he has hired all of these well-known sex workers, there's a video.
Say that.
Yeah.
He gonna show up on somebody's OnlyFans page.
Exactly. And first of all, you don't put it past people that's the problem when you are in a seat of position. You can't even do things like that because people will always set you up because they're gonna always try to cover themselves. So I undoubted there is a video somewhere. It's just when will we see it?
We'll stay tuned. I wonder if our producer will insert that in like he does the other clips.
Well, I hope not.
You're saying he has a video? Yes, he has a video.
As we wind down for the night, this is going by quick. As you all get your thoughts together as we go around the virtual table, we want to remind folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you ring the notification, that you click like and share. You can always find us at WeSpeak_the talk show. But let's do our final thoughts for the week. Shana Taylor, let's start with you.
My final thought is just to say thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here with me every week and making me think and keeping this brain functioning in the midst of all of this craziness that's going on in the world.
Outstanding. How about you, Ernest Collins, the birthday folks for the week?
I want to say, let's not people forget, just like we talk about voting, let's remember, guys, despite what the people are telling you and how we're being misled, COVID-19 is still real. You know, we are opening up all these businesses, and I do understand, but we have an incompetent individual running this country who's still misdirecting us, telling us that everything is okay. Yet we have 10 states that are higher than ever, in Florida's jeopardy. I mean, they're almost taking over as the leader with COVID-19. If you look at them, besides California, I think all of them are red states. And these people are going out like nothing ever happened. Hey, wear your mask, wear your gloves. Try to be alive so you can continue to watch these shows, man. Be safe out there.
Tiffany Thomas, what's your final thought for the week?
My final thought for the week is about empowerment. now that we are seeing this change and this evolution in the community, now it's important that we empower ourselves through reading and education and continuing to involve ourselves in different activities. So let's keep this momentum going the long stretch and continue this movement.
And Dr. Broadnax, what do you say your final thought is for the week?
My final thought is it just goes back to I'm very happy with what I saw through the Supreme Court. And so I have been highlighting that as much as I possibly can, because I think that was a great win for the LGBT community, because we know that in many states, it was still very legal for them to dismiss people based off of, their sexual life. But, I would just definitely say that was, to me, a very big highlight. And I'm glad that came down, and I'm hoping that more fair decisions will be made in the future.
Very well said. And my final thought for this particular week is that there are 3 sides to every issue: yours, mine, and the one that we've yet to consider. And I do believe that we give credit where credit is due. So I won't call him the president because he's not mine, but I will call him the occupant, and I'm going to give him credit for a whole bunch of white folks around the globe who are Googling Juneteenth right now, trying to figure out
what that means.
Is.
Because he made it up.
I'm going to give that credit where credit is due, but I'm going to leave it right there. We want to thank Dr. Broadnax, Ernest Collins, Tiffany. We also want to thank Shayna. And as always, we thank you for watching and ask that you join us again when next we speak.
May you live as long as you want.
And want as long as you
live.
There you go.
Right.
Hey.